Hello students, I'm Anita Abraham, Associate Professor of English. Welcome to the English classroom. This is video number 8 dated 25/7/2020. Today's English lesson is from Semester 1, Unit 4 of the General English curriculum prescribed by Osmania University for students of BA, BCom, B.Sc and BBA. Today's topic is from Unit 4 and is titled Conversation Telephone Etiquette. If you like my video, please subscribe and press the bell icon so that you get notified of subsequent videos. Let us get started. Telephone etiquette. Let's look at what are the skills that we require while using the telephone, whether it is the landline or the mobile. So, moving on, when do we practice telephone etiquette? We need to practice telephone skills while we are answering calls, while we are placing calls, and also handling both business and personal matters over the phone. Why is telephone skills or etiquette important in today's world? Uh, there are several reasons for this because lot of today's communication happens over the telephone, and we are all aware of that, whether it is in our personal lives or whether it is in the professional world. So it is very important that we follow the rules of how one needs to use the telephone for effective communication to take place. So let's look at some of the reasons why telephone skills are important. The first one being that the objectives of the call, whether it is personal or professional, be met. Whether if it's in a professional scenario, then the customers or your business associates are happy with the interaction. Even if it's in the personal context, then for whatever reason you have made the call, the interaction between the people who have made the call, the caller and the receiver, should be a positive and a good one. Then the other being that a very positive image is created on either end after the call or during the call or when the call is made. And then also, if you have telephone etiquette, if you exhibit telephone skills, then it shows your professionalism, and then also the company's reputation is enhanced. And you're also, if it is in a personal context, then your skills, your social skills, your interpersonal skills get enhanced when you display good telephone etiquette. And then there is a positive word of mouth. Your reputation, your image is built because you have shown good telephone etiquette. Now, what are some of the things that we must keep in mind to practice good telephone skills? And it happens even before the calls are placed. Okay, so what should you do before the calls are placed? We are talking about it in a professional scenario. I would like you students to also use these skills in your day-to-day interaction while you're using your mobile. Take things from this presentation that would be applicable to your personal life also, so that you are practicing good telephone skills. So the first thing would be prepared and plan your conversation. So just don't pick up the phone and just start off a random conversation. And I think that applies both in the professional scenario and in the personal scenario. Turn away from your computer desk or other work. That is something I always tell everyone, that when you are even though people cannot see you, they can sense if you are multitasking. So please, if you're taking an official call, if it is in the workplace scenario, move away from your computer, or concentrate on the call, so that the person at the other end knows that they have your undivided attention. Similarly, even in a personal context, when you are making the call or receiving a call, make sure that you are not doing anything else but giving your full attention to taking the call or making the call. Have your computer switched on. Okay, so if at the workplace scenario, the computer should be on, because in case you need to refer to something, you need to look up for some information, you will be ready and everything will be at hand. Similarly, have pencils, paper, notepad ready. You cannot keep the other person waiting and then go searching for these things. So this all this happens before you make the actual call. And let's move on to the next important area where you need to practice telephone skills, and that is while answering the phone. Answer calls promptly within 3 rings. You cannot allow the phone to ring for a very long time. Okay, so you in the professional setting, you need to pick up the call in the first 3 rings. And if it is in the personal setting, in the personal context also, you don't have your phone with you, it rings for a long time, then it stops ringing. But then if you have the instrument, it is always better to keep it with you. But then if you are like, for example, you are in college, then you cannot carry your phone with you, whether it is the teacher or whether it is the student. Then there are certain situations where you cannot. But then if you are at home and the phone is ringing, then you need to pick it up immediately. Don't allow it to ring and then stop. But then that would, in our personal lives, it would depend on where we are, and there are places where we cannot carry the phone, so then it doesn't apply. But we are talking about in the professional context, the phone needs to be answered promptly within 3 rings. But if you are in a meeting or something like that, then the phone is muted. So, then you are not supposed to take your call. But then if you're available, then you need to take it in 3 rings. Smile as you pick up the phone. The caller can hear it in your voice. So that's very, very important. Okay. So even though they cannot see you unless it's a video call, you need to, smile and be pleasant, because it gets conveyed over the phone. So it is very important that you smile, because even though your caller cannot see it, they can definitely hear the smile. Okay, so very interesting. But these are skills that we need to practice. And then we need to project a tone that is enthusiastic, natural, attentive, and respectful. Okay, you cannot be bored, disinterested. Your moods, your frame of mind has nothing to do with your taking a call or receiving a call or answering a call. You need to be enthusiastic, you need to be pleasant, attentive, and respectful, whatever the situation. And we need to greet the caller and identify ourselves and what our business is, and also very politely ask, how may I help you? Also, the next important thing in telephone etiquette is recognize the caller. Okay, people like to hear the sound of their name. So it is all, and it's always personal when you use the name. You make that connection when you use the person's name. The first time you hear the caller's name, that write it down. So that's why the notepad, the paper, pencil is important. So if I introduce myself and I say, good afternoon, I'm Anita Abraham speaking, you need to, from the other end, you say, good afternoon, how may I help you? And note my name down, so that during the conversation, you use my name once or twice. And that, gives me a good feeling that, you are attentive, you are giving me your 100% and are involved in this interaction that's taking place. Okay, so the first time you hear the caller's name, write it down, then use her or his name during the conversation. Okay, very politely, so that personal connect is there. And then if you are in doubt about the spelling of the caller's name, ask for the spelling or the start of the spelling, the spell or the start spelling the name and ask for verification. Okay, so I say I'm Anita Abraham speaking. Then you can very well, can I have your can I have the spelling, madam? So I spell it for you, Anita, or you say, is it spelled Anitha? And then then I say, no, please spell it as Anita. I prefer that. Okay, so these are all small things that are very important in making this communication very effective. And now, during the conversation, what are certain things that we must be very careful about, and we must practice all these things, communication skills, whether it is face to face or, what we were talking about non-verbal communication, body language, and now we're talking about telephone over communication over the telephone. Whatever it is, these are skills, these are abilities, capabilities that come with practice. So you need to practice these things. So let's look at what are the skills that we need to exhibit while the telephone conversation is on. So during the conversation, while we are speaking, you must enunciate and pronounce very clearly, okay, because this is over the telephone, the mobile, or the landline, and so you need to be very clear in your speech and your pronunciation, and always use simple language English when you're using. Don't avoid don't use bombastic language. You're not there to scare the person at the other end with your language skills. You need effective communication to take place. You need the interaction between the caller and the receiver to go smoothly. So use simple language, pronounce clearly, avoid using slangs, yeah, dude, those kind of things. Avoid it. It has to be professional, and use the correct English language that is accepted, and always speak very calmly and choose your words very carefully. Okay, so often, when telephone conversation happen, you never know the other person. It may go into a recording machine. It may The other person may record your conversation. Often you take permission before recording, but then you never know what the situation is. But for whatever reason, forget the recording, or the conversation being recorded, or it going into a voicemail, whatever happen, whatever is the situation, you need to make sure that you are speaking calmly, and we need to very carefully choose our words during the conversation, and then use all your listening skills. Okay, just like they can hear you smile, that is, your pleasantness gets conveyed. Similarly, a person knows whether you are being attentive or not. Give the caller full attention. Active listening needs to be practiced here, because then only you can decode very carefully the message that is being sent to you. Clarity is very important. Similarly, clarifying and checking for understanding is also very important. So sometimes what happens is, the message may not, or the communication may not be clear. So you need to clarify and just check if you have understood, if you have got the message correctly. Use basic phrases of courtesy. Be very polite, be respectful, be attentive. These are things that need to be done during the course of a telephone conversation. So use phrases like, may I help you, please, thank you, you are welcome. You need to use these phrases during your conversation. Don't chew gum or eat during the conversation, or multitask and do something else. Like we said earlier, we must give our full attention to the conversation. Do not slam the phone, that is, bang the phone down, or cut off the call abruptly. It is very, very rude. You cannot do it. However, what you call irritating the call may be, however, bad the communication may be between the caller and the receiver, you just have to hold on to your calm, and make sure that you complete the conversation and very politely thank and put down the phone. And also refrain from idle chit chat if it is in the professional scenario. Okay, so you cannot bring personal issues into the conversation while uh, it's a professional call. You need to be crisp in your conversation. Ensure that you have received the message, or you have conveyed the message, and then very politely end the conversation. Nothing personal should be exchanged, even if it is asked from the other end. Very politely, very gently, try to avoid personal interactions during workplace calls. And of course, during personal calls, it's another story altogether. Then, if there is a problem, project a tone that is concerned, empathetic, and apologetic. Okay, so when you're taking a professional call, the caller may be upset about something, or may want some clarification, and you are handling the call. So you should so that's why they have called. Okay, so you should convey your tone, because now your body language they cannot see, because it's we are assuming it's not a video call. It is not a video call, they cannot see you. So your voice should do all the talking for you. So you should convey that you are concerned, you are empathizing, you are with them in their problem, in their trouble. You are trying to understand and resolve their problem for them. If something has gone wrong, be apologetic also. And very important, we must avoid 5 phrases that are forbidden. Okay, you cannot say no. Instead, find a way to state the situation positively. Okay, try to let me look into it, and things like that. No, an emphatic no is very, very rude. Similarly, I don't know. You cannot use that phrase. Instead, you could say things like, "That's a good question. Let me find out for you. Give me some time. I will get back to you." Something. You cannot just rudely say, "I don't know." This is in the professional setting. Similarly, in the personal context, also, we cannot be rude and say no and "I don't know" and all. There are nicer ways to put it. Okay. The next phrase would be we can't do that. I mean, when you're talking about in the professional context, instead of that, you say, that is what I can do, or that is what we can do. So there is a limitation to how far you can go to help. So put it positively, okay? And then the phrase "you will have to." It's like a command. You are commanding the other person. Instead, you could say, "Here is how we can help you." In a very polite way, very respectful way, you could just put it. And instead of "just a second," instead give a more honest estimate of time of how long it will take. Because give me just a second, I will sort it out for you. In 1 second, it's not going to happen. So in just a second is a very colloquial phrase that it doesn't convey any amount of time. Okay, it doesn't convey 1 second, it doesn't convey 1 day also. I mean, it's a very ambiguous phrase. So avoid using it in the professional context. Okay, instead give an honest estimate of how long it is going to take you. The other another important area where we need to talk to practice telephone etiquette is when we are reporting to callers. That is, you're giving information to callers. Okay, for example, somebody has called for me, and then how do you answer? There are some examples. Let me read it out for you, and then you will understand. So how are you going to report to the caller? Somebody has called asking for someone, and how are you going to answer? Okay, for example, there's a caller for Dr. Madhu. This is how you would do it. "Dr. Madhu is on the other line. Will you wait, please?" He is away from his desk. May I take a message? Another way of reporting to the caller is, I'm sorry, Dr. Madhu is out of office. May someone else help you? Another way of doing it is, Dr. Ram is in the finance department. One moment, please. I'll transfer your call. The other way of reporting to callers is, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. So do you see how polite? There is please, there is sorry. Okay, so you're not being humble, or you're not being overly displaying humility. That is not it. This is telephone skills. You need to interact with callers in this way. Your pleases and your thank yous and your sorries are very, very important. All right. Now look at what is the etiquette that you need to practice when you're answering calls for others. Okay, the first thing is identify. We are talking in the professional context. Even if in the personal, you need to identify yourself. You just cannot say hello and then just start off a conversation. You need to identify yourself. But let's look at it from the professional context. In the professional context, identify yourself and the company or the person for whom you're answering, and say, how may I help you? Offer assistance in the absence of the others, and say, she is not in today, perhaps I can be of assistance. So you're taking the call for somebody else. Okay, do not make any commitment for others. Okay, so you don't promise anything for somebody else. Okay, say, I will give him or her your message when he or she returns, and that person will take the call from there. Accurate, legible messages with time, date, reason for call, whether it is urgent or not, what is the best time to reach the person who has called, and all relevant information must be noted down, and then reported to the person for whom you're taking the call. This is very important. That's why pen, paper, and all is important. You cannot just say, wait a second, let me find a pen, let me find a paper so that I can take your message down. That's very, very unprofessional. All right. The other thing, other area where you need to be very careful is when you're transferring a call. Okay, you have received a call and you are transferring. So what kind of etiquette will you practice? So explain the reason for the transfer of the call. So somebody has called me and I need to, I'm not the right person and I am transferring the call to the relevant or the correct person. So you need to explain to the caller why you're making this transfer. So explain the reason for the transfer. Let me connect you with Mr., Miss, Mrs. XYZ in the sales department or in the what do you call customer service department. So you are transferring the call to the right person. Know your extension number so that the caller is not kept waiting. Okay, so in the in your professional setup, you need to have all the numbers of the important people and the important departments, and not important here I would mean relevant, where calls could come in and you don't handle it, and you're not the right person to take it, and you need to transfer it. And then mute the line if you are clarifying any information with a colleague. So you don't know the information or you don't have the information and you want to get the information from someone, then you must always mute it, because the caller should not hear what you're trying to say. Okay, and then this transfer technique, this is what is the steps. You have to diagnose the situation. That is, what is the situation? Are you the right person, or you need to transfer the call? Then inform the caller and then announce the call. Okay, so that you have transferred. All right. Then another area that we need to be very careful and practice our telephone skills is when we are obtaining the caller's name. Okay, so somebody has called and they may just say hello, and then you want to know, for example, I call and say, hello, I want to speak to Mr. Rao, and I have not identified myself. Now you need to very politely obtain my name. Okay, you cannot say, who is calling? You cannot say things like that. You cannot be rude over the over the phone. So here are some phrases. Here is how you will elicit or get this information. May I tell Mr. Rao who is calling, please? May I say who is calling, please? May I have your name, please? Look at the way the model may is used, please is used. It's very, very polite. So, that's the way telephone conversations must be conducted. Okay. And progress report, that is, the caller wants to talk to Dr. Rao, but Dr. Rao is not available. So then what do you tell the caller? How do you keep him waiting? Okay, so this is what you do. Mr. Rao's line is still busy. Do you wish to continue waiting? Okay, so that you are asking the caller whether they would like to wait or disconnect and call later. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. May I check further and call you back? So you take the name, you take the number of the caller, and then tell that you would call them back if they cannot wait. Okay, now the other area where you need to practice your telephone etiquette is when you are placing someone on hold. That is, you are keeping somebody waiting for whatever reason. Okay, make sure that the reason is genuine. So you cannot keep them waiting for whatever reason. It has to be a genuine reason. Okay, ask the caller if she or he would hold. Okay, you must take permission. Can I put you on hold? Can I keep you waiting for, give a genuine time, so that you are either clarifying, or you are getting the right person, or you're connecting to the right person for whatever reason. Okay, ask the caller if he or she would hold and wait for a response rather than assuming that the answer is yes. Okay, so you can't say, I'm putting you on hold, I'll get back to you in 2 minutes, and then just put the person on hold. No, you cannot assume that the answer is yes. You need to make sure that you get a positive response from the caller. Yes, he or she is willing to hold, and then put the person on hold. Never keep a caller on hold for more than a minute. So that's the rule. Okay, if you need to take longer than that, then you need to return back to the caller and tell them that you need to take an extra few minutes longer, and ask if it is okay, or should you call back. Okay, so never keep anybody waiting for more than a minute. Okay, and then you need to take permission again. Then when you return to the caller, thank them for holding. Okay, so that's very, very important. So that's the etiquette that you will practice when you put someone on hold, keep them waiting. Now, another very important area which requires all our telephone skills and etiquette is when we are dealing with angry callers. Okay, you have no right to get angry. Okay, you need to be polite, you need to be attentive, you need to be respectful, and make sure you complete that call. Okay, so listen and allow the caller to vent their anger, feeling, frustration, whatever reason they have called for. Empathize with the person and acknowledge, okay, I understand, I'm sorry. Those kind of phrases and sentences is what you must use, and apologize when it is appropriate. Okay, so you only need to apologize only if you know you are at fault. Okay, but then convey that yes, you understand what the situation is, and you are empathetic towards their problem. And then always be positive. Solve, if you can solve or suggest, and generate solutions that you both agree on and is reasonable to do. Okay, so don't promise the everything, the sun, moon, and the stars, because you cannot deliver it. Okay, so try to work out very positively, very gently, very respectfully a solution, or suggest something that will calm the situation down, and the caller is happy, and it is possible for you to do it. Okay, remain calm, courteous, and never argue with the caller. Never interrupt the caller also. Make sure that the person tells you what he or she wants to tell, and then you start talking. Explain clearly, but do not make unrealistic promises, because then the person will get back saying, you said you will do this, you can do this. So don't make unrealistic promise. Be very polite, and you should know what your limits are if it's at the workplace, what you can do, and only work within that parameter. Act fast. Okay. Acting quickly shows that you are sorry and you will handle the situation. So whatever is the problem, you attend to it, listen attentively, take the time, saying that I will get it resolved in this much of time, and then immediately attend to it. And that shows that it shows your professionalism, that you are attentive, and you are you are there to do your job, and you have done your job. Follow up and get back to the caller to make sure that the problem is resolved. It's always good to give a call back and check if everything is all right, it is resolved, and your customer, your caller is happy. So that's one way of doing it. Then the other area where you need to practice your telephone skills is when it comes to concluding the call, the wrap up. That is very, very important. Okay. End the conversation with an agreement on what is to happen next. If you are to follow up, do so immediately. Okay. So you cannot say okay bye and just bang the phone down. It doesn't. So when you're in a professional context, you need to wrap up the call very, very correctly, and make sure that all the points that was discussed were all is clear for on both ends, and then you are on agreement on what needs to be done. And if there is a follow up from your side, then you need to immediately do it. Thank the caller for calling, for his time, and invite the caller to call again. Okay, so these are certain things that we need to do before, during the call, and then while you're concluding the call. So just let's look at the 5 phases of a telephone call. So what is phase one? Phase one is opening the call, the greeting, and the introduction. Then you move on to phase two, building the rapport with the caller, identifying the customer's need, okay, whether it's a question, listening, okay. Then you move to phase three, okay, that is collecting and verifying information. Even you're paraphrasing, trying to understand, have you got the information that you require? Then you move on to phase four, that is provide the caller with solutions, alternatives, information, whatever be the situation. And phase five would be get the caller buy in time, or establish the next step, and then close the call very, very politely. So these are the 5 steps, and we all need to practice this 5 step. And if you look at it, this applies not only in the professional context but also in the personal context. Okay, so you have the opening when you call somebody in a personal it's a personal call. You have the opening of the call, your greeting and introduction and things like that. And of course the rapport is always there when it's a personal call, or if it's a new person, then you build that kind of rapport, identify what you convey to the person, communicate with the person on why you have called, or and the other person knows why the person has received the call. And then you get the information in phase three, and then you provide the information, alternative solutions, whatever, or you exchange the pleasant information, and then you conclude. Okay, and then if there is a follow up, then it happens. So this is the 5 phases of the call. Now we will move to a very important area where we need to practice our telephone skills, and that is while leaving a voicemail. So often what happens is the person is not able to take the call, and then you need to leave a voicemail. So how will you leave a voicemail? So this is something that comes with practice. You need to practice. And in the professional context, it often happens that the person you want to contact is in a meeting, their phone is switched off. Their phone could be switched off the whole day if they are in a meeting for long periods of time. Maybe the person is traveling and cannot take your call. So leaving a message in the voicemail has become a given, is very normal in today's professional scenario. And so you need to know what is the etiquette involved in leaving a voicemail. So let's look at that. When you leave a voicemail, it is important you speak clearly and concisely, brief. You should provide the following information. What is the information that you will leave on your voicemail? Your name, the reason for calling, and your phone number. That's very, very important. Then make sure when you speak that you are friendly, polite, and to the point. That's a given in any telephone conversation. That is the basic of telephone skills. You are friendly, polite, and to the point. Do not whisper, ramble, or shout into the phone. And remember to end your message courteously by saying something along the lines like, hope to see you soon, or have a great day, or hope to hear from you soon, whatever. So politely end your conversation. Now, I have broken this down for you so that you know what are the steps to leaving a voice mail message. The first is the introduction. Okay, we were talking about that. Hello, this is Tilak. I'm Tilak speaking. Hello, my name is Tilak. Okay, so do that, and then the reason for calling. What is the reason for calling? I'm calling to find out if you are interested in whatever. I'm calling to let you know. Give the reason. I'm hoping to discuss. Okay, so you are given. So the second step would be the reason. Keep it brief. Keep it uh, precise, and then move on. Then leave your number. My phone number is, please feel free to call me anytime at, and then you leave your number. You can reach me at, leave your phone number. And then the concluding lines, you know how you would wrap up the voicemail, is I look forward to hearing from you. Take care. Thank you very much. Goodbye. So that's how you end the conversation. So this is very, very important. So that was how you would leave a voicemail when the person is unavailable to take the call. Now, another area that we need to practice our telephone skills is in making an appointment over the phone. How do you do that? So when you work for in a company or an organization, you will be often be asked or expected to schedule meetings or appointments. Okay, so that's a everything. See, and I think today's for the last 4 months during the COVID, we have seen that how everybody is working from home, and how all the work is getting done on the laptop and through the telephone. So making calls, making appointments, all these things are very, very important. Okay, so how do you schedule meetings and appointments? This will require calling and coordinating with those who have to attend the meeting, and make sure that you arrange for a mutually convenient time. And this is very important in today's world, because it could be across time zones also. The meeting could be with people from who live in different countries and have different time zones. So you need to take all those things into consideration, and make an appointment, what do you call, at a time that's convenient for all the people who need to attend. Okay, so I'm just going to take you through an example from your textbook on how a business appointment is fixed. Okay, so let's read the conversation below and observe how James has gone about scheduling an appointment. The example is from your general English textbook. The conversation is between Anuradha and James. So James is calling to fix up an appointment, and let's read it together. Anuradha, Mr. Reddy's office. James, hello, may I speak to Mr. Reddy, please? Anuradha, I'm afraid he's in a meeting until noon today. Would you like to leave a message? James, well, I need to speak with him. So, is it possible to make an appointment? I am James Xavier here. Okay, this is James Xavier here. I'm James Xavier. You leave your name, Anuradha. Could you hold on for a minute, Mr. Xavier? I'll take a look at his schedule. What date and time would be convenient for you? James, sometime next week if possible. I gather he's away the week after next. So this is how, do you see how the conversation between Anuradha and James is going on? James has called Anuradha, who has taken the call for Mr. Reddy. Mr. Reddy is in the meeting, and James is wanting to schedule an appointment, and he has given the name. So Anuradha uses his name, Mr. Xavier. Did you see that? So during conversation, you need to note the name and then use it, because it, that's the etiquette. That's the telephone etiquette. She looks up the schedule. Okay, could you hold on for a minute? Okay, and so she's quickly looking up at Mr. Reddy's schedule and asking for what date and time is convenient for Mr. Xavier, and then James giving the time frame, because Mr. Reddy is not available the week after. Okay, Anuradha, yes, that's right. That is, Mr. Reddy is not available. We have a new branch opening in Mauritius the week after next. So she gives the reason also, because that's very professional, why Mr. Reddy is not available the week after next. Mr. James, James says, I need to see him before he goes away. Could I meet him next Monday? So now he's giving a time frame, okay? A day he's giving. Anuradha, shall I fix it at shall I fix it at 3 p.m. that Monday in Mr. Reddy's room? So the time, the day, and the venue. So yes, James, yes, that's great. Thank you very much. Miss Anuradha says, okay, then goodbye. So do you see the conversation? All the things that we were talking about being taken care of as we, take the call, the etiquette that was practiced. Now, let us look at some basic rules that must be followed while making during a telephone conversation. Okay, treat the caller in the manner in which you would like to be treated if you were placing the call. Okay, so put yourself in the caller's place. Callers should be made to feel important and appreciated. Very important. Prosperous businesses that have done well have learned to treat all callers as if they are their best customers. Okay, so you don't make any differentiation. Everybody is important for you. Now let's look at the essentials of telephone skills. Uh, uh, Quickly review it. Use basic good manners, that is, be courteous and be helpful. Treat all callers with respect. Recognize the caller. Be an active listener. So being an active listener is very, very important. Directing your full attention to the caller will require to for us to practice certain listening techniques and strategies. And here, these are some suggestions for you to improve your listening skills when you are attending a call, receiving a call. Focus on the caller's opening statement. So you have your pen and pencil. You need to make any notes or jot down something. This is when you will do it. Let the caller speak without interruption. Verify facts and figures. You can double check so that you get the right information. Provide feedback to the caller, and if you are not actually listening to attentive to what the caller has said, then you won't be able to give any feedback. And don't ignore the question. So please attend to whatever is the question asked, and take notes during the call, so that in case you need to follow up, or in case you need to interact with somebody else regarding this, you have all the information that is required. And always use good manners. Answer the telephone if possible immediately. We said the 3 ring rule. And definitely no, not later first ring, or and not after the 3rd ring. Use proper identification while placing or receiving call. So when you are placing the call also, you need to identify yourself, or if you are receiving a call also, you need to identify yourself properly, and give the caller your complete attention. So do you see certain things that are getting repeated? Because these are the foundation of telephone etiquette. And keep your mouth free from gum, food, anything when you're talking. Okay? And speak clearly and in a positive tone to avoid any sense of interruption by the caller. So if you are not clear, if you are mumbling, if you're slow, then the caller keeps interrupting, because he or she cannot hear you properly, and then there is a breakdown in communication. Screen calls tactfully. Okay, so when you get a call, And if you have the caller identification coming, make sure that if it's important, you take it. If you feel that it is not important, and at that time to receive the call, don't take it and then call back later. Be helpful, and also the follow through is very, very important. Okay, then moving on. When you're ending the call, always end it with thank you, I'm glad you called, you are welcome. Say goodbye to end the conversation. Avoid bye bye and see you later for business calls. These are for professional calls. You need to end it professionally, and always the caller must hang up first. You cannot hang up. You cannot put the phone down. Allow the caller to disconnect the call, and then you put your then you end the call. Be courteous. That is very important. It's the most important telephone skill. Be a consideration for others, the caller, or the or if you have called and the person who is receiving the call. One way we learn about courtesy is through first hand experience with someone who is not courteous. Okay, so if you have been at a receiving end of a bad rude call, then you know how important it is to be very courteous and treat every call as an important call. Every caller is an important customer. This is very, very important. Okay, and even if it's a personal call, you have made it or you have got it, it's very important that you give attention to the person who has called. Be courteous at all time, and it's not easy. Okay, it can be a very stressful call, but then you have no choice. You need to be polite. In a business office, however, it's always a necessity. If it's a personal call, yes, it can, you can be a little impolite depending on the relationship with the person you are talking. But in your professional context, in your official capacity, it is a necessity. You cannot be rude. You have to be polite, and always be helpful. Show your spirit of helpfulness by words, expressions, and action. Action would be the follow up. Avoid slang expressions used in casual conversation. Okay, so uh, you cannot, when you're speaking casually or in an informal context, the language is different, but over the phone you must come through as a professional, and you cannot use these slangs and things like that. Then as you help the caller, speak with confidence to let them know that you have the ability, the capability, and skill to assist them. You don't be unsure, and you don't hem and haw, or you don't be vague, that the person who is calling gets the feeling that you cannot help them out. Okay, even though you may have answered the same question many times, avoid showing any sign of irritation or boredom. Take it as a first call, give it all the attention that it requires, and be helpful. Now, what does it take to be helpful? First of all, habit. Okay, you need to practice. Okay, and you need to come through as somebody who will help. You have to, because it is a workplace scenario. Okay, effort. Okay, you need to take effort. You just cannot be blasé, or you cannot be casual about it. Listen carefully to what the caller wants, and promise only what can be delivered. And then fairness. You cannot have preferences. All callers must be treated with equal respect, and must be given the required time, and must be treated respectfully. And then, of course, understanding. Okay, to be helpful, you must be empathetic. You must understand, and you must be very clear that you have understood, and that you will be able to follow through or solve the issue right then. Okay, and then lifeline, or what we call, you show concern to the what you call caller, that their call is important, and you have given them complete attention, and that it will get taken care of. So that's very, very important for the caller. So students, I hope you have learned how important it is to cultivate telephone skills, develop telephone etiquette in today's world. And we have seen during the last 4.5 months, since the world shut down because of COVID, how businesses, workplaces are functioning with the help of the telephone and the laptop. And even if it was not also, it is the telephone has is the most important means of communication. So it's very important for us that we have the required skills and etiquette to be effective communicators using the medium of telephone. Okay, so practice and become efficient in your telephone skills. Okay, everything becomes perfect with practice. So practice your telephone skills, do role plays, pretend that you are receiving calls, pretend that you are taking voicemails, pretend that you are making an appointment. You know, the different scenarios you can practice, you can record it and see how you're sounding. Make sure you're using the correct phrases, the greetings, and you become perfect in it. Thank you so much. Take care and stay safe.